you are invited to our fantastic 3-day summer solstice event. The information is in the link in the first comment. I hope I see you there. So I just want to talk to you about the ones I've met. I met the unfolding lotus, which just, oh God, beautiful. And the only experience I had with the frog was on psilocybin, and it was just sitting there. And they gave me this frog with all these beautiful colors like floating around it. Like they said, please hold while we load your program. And they played music while the frog is just sitting there. It was pretty funny. And the frog is just being still. And then it was like sitting sideways, and it just turned and looked at me and went, and licked its face. And then, anyway, and that's all I saw of the frog, but it was so beautiful. The very first entities I saw were those machine elves. And I talk about how they did surgery on my brain, and they were like, just be still, just be still, just like look at this beautiful flower and be still, like humans like this, here, look at the flower, or look at the flower. And then they were tinkering my brain, and I was really upset about it. And then later I talked about the ne'er-do-wells, like the aliens, the assholes in the alleyway. They were similar. They were machine, and they were ripping a bunch of stuff out of me, and I cried talking about it. Later, and a bunch of people gave me shit about it, all those evil people. Like, I learned later through integration that they took my shame. Like, what an amazing thing. And there's all these reasons why it hurt, why it was upsetting, whatever. I don't even want to be boring to talk about it. I'll talk about it someday, about how they took my shame. But, not everything is what it seems. Just because it fucking sucks doesn't mean it's bad. And I appreciate that they were putting on this front of snatching me into an alleyway and holding me down, like frantically, like taking it and running with it, because it was ugly, it was dirty, it was shame, and they were getting it out. But I appreciate the humor in the situation. But the machine entities, they don't seem full of love. They seem neutral to me. But I met the Amanita, so that was beautiful. She was beautiful. And I talk about that when I talk about my first trip experience. That'll be in the trip playlist. And the door that I went through, and the name of the door, and how hilarious that was. And then the Amanita and what she showed me and all that stuff. I like her there when I meet her through the psilocybin. I want to meet her again through psilocybin. That was fantastic. I met I think that they were something similar to Pleiadians. They were very thin, iridescent, almost see-through, angelic, like halo-ish beings with round heads, and they had eyes-ish, but they were just more like star people. And I've had conversations with them. But the reason I'm having a hard time talking about them is because the conversations I have with them are the ones I'm never allowed to remember. I get packets and downloads from them, which I'm sure are all these things that I'm experiencing later in integration or whatever, and huge ahas that I have. But when they talk to me, they do that thought transfer thing, but they do it in such large pieces of information that I can't even grasp the concepts they're sending. So it feels to me condensed into a packet of information that's sort of launched into me and placed there for later. And that it opens very slowly, because if it opened all at once, I think my hard drive would just blow up or something. I'm saving the best for last. This last 10-gram trip, I dealt with several entities for a long time. But at the end, when they were giving me my discharge papers and discharge notes, there were entities that showed up that were sort of working all around me, shoving packets of information in all of the spaces where surgery was done and stuff was ripped out of me, and everything felt like it was just hanging, and I was raw and dripping and bleeding energy and just raw, hanging loose ends everywhere. They were coming in and sort of like gauze, except these were packets of information. They were gauze to stop the bleeding and the dripping. They were healing, like to reconnect everything through them, like they were going to be the sticky stuff through which all the healing was going to reconnect everywhere in my body where there was trauma that they removed. But also at the same time, it was knowledge. Oh, this is so hard. Words. The packets were, okay, the geometry is the language that moves between our human meat sack and energy. It's the construct through which we are connected to the all that is, and to universal knowledge, and to love, and to consciousness. That framework is what they showed me, right? I guess, right? I don't know if you agree. They crammed that stuff in these packets. And in that geometric framework was the knowledge, the information that needed to go there in that spot. One, to heal it. Two, to heal it with the information of what that tissue, its job and what its work is supposed to be as part of a normal human meat sack occupying that space in a heart or in skin or in muscle or in nerve, but also bearing the universal consciousness knowledge that we all ourselves have. But more than that, it was advanced knowledge because of where I'm growing to. So they went on and placed it there sort of like upgrades. As I would grow into that knowledge, and it would leak out as I grew, and my knowledge grew, and my energy grew, and I upgraded. Pieces of it would then come on board into my body to occupy that new space. That was hard. Okay, the best. I know that all of you, not all of you, a lot of you hate the praying mantis people. But I gotta tell ya, I'm a fan and I love them very much, and especially after this trip, they are my people. The first time I met them was when I was in Switzerland on that trip, and I was working with some entities, and we had finished some particular harsh lesson in learning. And we were standing in a staging area that was a behind the scenes area, like a holding place while we prepared to go to my next lesson learning, whatever. And it was like a plaza, and there was like a water fountain thing going on over here. And there were stairs in front of me, and there was a building, and there were lots of aliens and entities coming and going up and down the stairs and leaving. And these two praying mantis entities, they each had a briefcase, and they came walking down the stairs, and they nodded, and they read my mind. And because I thought, oh shit, like I don't want to talk to them. And they said, ma'am, we're just doing our job. We don't understand why everyone has such a bad opinion of us, and it kind of bothers us. But we wish you good day, and maybe change your mind about us. And I was like, oh, of course. Of course. That's pretty cool. And I didn't think anything else of it. When the entity that met me at the very beginning of my 10-gram trip, if you watch the video before this one, where I met Ganesh, if that's who she was, the elephant, and when she walked away, that the entities that came to me and said, well, what else do you think there is? What else do you want? And then when they yanked me into the void, and then the one that came to me, I knew was assigned to me. It has been with me before. It's been aware of my incarnation, maybe multiple incarnations, but I know in this incarnation that them were waiting to work with me again. And she said, it's my honor to serve you, and was apologizing for how much this is about to hurt. And the 3 hours of hell, it was just 3 hours of really, really brutal hell. To watch them put me through the sheer hell, feel their work and their purpose in it, and how quickly they were working. Like, they were working fast. And what they would tell me periodically is, hang in there. We got to keep going. We got to keep going. We have so much to do and so little time to get it done. And the sense of purpose and compassion and drive and love to get it done. Like, for me, like, this is urgent. You're here. We've got you for a very limited amount of time. Like, we really need to get this done for you. The empathy and the care and the extreme devotion to the work, to getting this done and out of me. Like, there was an urgency. Like, we've been waiting your whole life to get this out of you. And we've got 3 hours. Like, and it's going to hurt because we're just not going to stop. And it didn't stop. Except that when I would get to a point where I just couldn't take any more, and I would think in my head, I need a break. I need a break. I need a break. I need a break. You could feel I could feel they heard me. And so they were finishing up quickly, like, hang on. And then everything would stop that I was just experiencing. They put their face in front of my face, this beautiful praying mantis creature, and said, permission to continue. You okay? Like, asking for consent. And most of the time I couldn't. It was weird because I just thought, I'm exhausted, but like, this is important work. I'm so grateful for what you're doing. Please continue. I'm grateful for the opportunity to be here and to be doing this. And of course, we have very limited time. I have limited time. Of course, keep doing this. And also, all that came out was, fuck. But in that word was all that stuff I just said simultaneously. And she, just because she would come across as very feminine in these moments, just looked at me and nodded. But in that nod was, as you wish, and of course, and thank you, and a hardness of, right, let's keep going. You're like, we gotta go. And at the same time, the weeping underneath for the pain and the empathy and compassion for what I was going through, knowing that they were inflicting it on me, but that it was beautiful. Like, it was the most loving work. Every single horrible vision and thing that I had to endure, they knew was love, because it was fucking awful shit getting extricated, and they knew was going to be replaced with these packets of beauty and goodness and the wholeness I was going to experience, and then potentially the things I was going to continue to do. They come so rapidly, and a lot of it I don't remember. I did meet an octopus. It was a tourist coming through my experience. They didn't talk to me, didn't really have much to say, but they came from behind me and came around and just was looking at me, and of course all the beautiful colors all over, and stroked my face and just looked at me like, humans are so interesting looking. I just like it when I get to see them. But I got this sense that they didn't get to see humans very much, that particular entity. And I was just so enamored and in awe of getting to meet an octopus that I was just like, oh. But I was being distracted from my work, and so it disappeared pretty quickly. And then, and it went quickly the same way we see them do in the ocean. Like, it gathered all of its arms, just it was gone. Can I please ask you to consider that the praying mantises, one, are not evil, but two, maybe they are reserved for the hardest of the hard work, that they work very hard to be highly evolved beings so that they can witness that amount of pain and inflict it and know that they're doing love's work and good work, and that they're devoted and compassionate and passionate about it. That I can't imagine the resolve and the training or the lifetimes or the evolution that is required to be that kind of a being, to do that kind of work. And just because we see insects on this planet the way that we do doesn't mean that's the right way to be looking at just other species of living things. I'm asking you to put your biases aside, whatever they are, and consider them there to help you. That if you see a praying mantis, just know you won the lottery. You got lucky, because it means they brought in the hard workers. They brought in the good ones, because your trauma must be pretty fucked up. And this trip, the mushrooms saw fit to really do right by you and to bring the heavy lifters on your behalf. And that means a whole lot of integration. I sunk into a 3-week depression. I got really scared. I've been sleeping a lot. But already, what I'm getting out of it, it just, the love and the compassion, and it's just, I wish I could see them again. When I go back, because I'm going to have to do this again, I got to go back. I look forward to seeing them again. And then I look forward to clearing the bulk of this work and getting to meet them on better terms, if they are allowed, if they have time, if they can show up on a lower dose trip when I don't have that much work to do. I don't know. Maybe I can just ask for them to show up. But they're beautiful, and I really love them. AmanitaDreamer.net is where I have all of the censored stuff from YouTube. It's over there, AmanitaDreamer.net. You should go watch it. It's all free. I have a newsletter where I talk about all the behind the scenes stuff that I'm doing, all the secret announcements. I love you, beautiful people. I love being human, and I love you for being here. And thank you. Bye.